Hello and welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast, and I am your host, Samuel. In this podcast, I interview top medical sales reps and leading medical sales executives across the entire country. And it doesn't matter what medical sales industry, from medical device to pharmaceutical to genetic testing to diagnostic lab, you name it. You will learn how to either break into the industry, be a top 5% performer within your role in sales, or climb the corporate ladder. Welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Samuel, and today we have with us a return guest who goes by the name of Jeremy Laynor. So most of you might know Jeremy as the Senior Vice President of Global Sales for Providence Medical. What you don't know is that he's also an author. And he wrote this book called The Point Guard Approach. So you hear that and you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, the point guard approach, that's a basketball reference. Well, another thing you might not know is that Jeremy was actually a point guard at Slippery Rock University. And he wasn't just any point guard, he was a star point guard. And he's taken his experiences as a star point guard and tied them to his experiences as a global leader in the sales industry. What's really fascinating about this book is it really is for anyone in business, anyone in sales. And he highlights things like having a vision, having resilience, the fundamentals of the game. He ties them to what that actually looks like through leadership, and not just what it looks like, but how to do it with action steps in every single chapter. This book was really fascinating. You know, when I read it, it spoke to me. Like I said, it speaks to someone in leadership. It speaks to someone in sales. Really, it speaks to anyone in business, and also speaks to people that are trying to get into something. Like, for example, those of you listening that are trying to get into the industry. A book like this will speak volumes to you and help you really communicate what you know you need to do to make something happen. And again, invaluable to leaders that are just trying to come up with different ways to successfully execute. So I'm not going to spoil it by telling you anymore. I'm going to let you listen to our interview. And as always, thank you for listening to the Medical Sales Podcast. Make sure you check out this book by Jeremy Laynor called The Point Guard Approach. And I hope you enjoy this interview. Hey, Jeremy, how are we doing today?
Samuel, doing great. Good to see you. Always good to chat.
Good to see you as well. So it's been a little while. How long has it been since the last time we spoke?
I was going to say, it's under a year, but maybe close.
Maybe close to a year. Yeah, something like that. And I think when we spoke last, it was kind of the heart of COVID. Yeah. Access was an issue. Some things were an issue. But you've been doing some things. You've been working on some things. I know your book's come out. So, first, catch us up on what's happened since the last time we spoke, and then we'll get into some more stuff.
Sure. I think the ups and downs of the pandemic, now that we've been in it for, going on soon to be 2 years, people are getting a little bit accustomed to having this, shadow, if you will, around. And there's been a lot of adjustments made in, the business world, specifically in medical sales. I think there's been, some variation, but at the end of the day, we're still trying to serve the surgeon community and the patients and drive great outcomes. And, the kind of the core foundation is still there. How we deliver that value, is changing, and not all at once, but there's definitely been an evolution. Things that you and I have talked about in the past and talk about offline, like social media and other ways to interface with customers and drive value, and delivering content and grabbing interest is evolving for sure. So it's been interesting and not without challenges. We're definitely seeing still ongoing challenges, especially in the in my space specifically, where you're dealing with spine procedures and a lot of elective procedures. When you don't have room, beds are taken by COVID patients, among other things. Labor strikes, all sorts of different dynamics have spawned off as well. So it's been interesting, to say the least. Okay. Keeping us on our toes.
Yeah, no, that's right. Keeping you on your toes. So, you talk a little bit about the unique ways you guys have tried to get access and just keep things rolling. Tell us a little bit more about that. What does that look like? What's been working? What's not been working?
Well, I think one of the areas we've been more successful in is kind of territory sizing, is just shrinking the scope of where our sales representatives go. So instead of driving multiple hours to try and find or see a surgeon, really trying to keep the territory geography a lot more concentrated, because they get more reach and frequency where they have access. We want to be able to see those physicians and really interface with them and build a relationship in a condensed sales period, versus maybe more surgeons across the greater landscape, but seeing them less often because access is challenging, just kind of shrinking and really focusing on reach, frequency, and driving value, and constantly, trying to understand the needs of our customers, and then providing, value where we can match that need.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So things have been happening there at Providence. So tell me a little bit about what's been happening with you specifically. I know you got this book. I want to know we talked a little bit about it on our episode last time. I want to say it hadn't come out yet. So it's out. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, so super exciting. I mean, the point guard approach was a culmination of, probably 5 years of writing. Not because it's 50,000 word novel, but because I was doing it in my spare time, which was far and few between, because I had, a job and a family and travel. But, so it was really great. The end of August, it actually, the publisher pushed it out, and it's available and on all your major outlets, Amazon being, one that most people obviously order from, but also through my publisher, Olympia Publishing. And it's been really, really cool just to kind of reconnect with people from my past that, they kind of caught wind of the book launch, and just hearing from, friends from 20 years ago that maybe I haven't, stayed in close contact with, and they're really excited to see the book come out, read it. And then I've had, what's really, really rewarding is when, you get feedback from somebody that just read the book and it resonated and something really caught them and it kind of moved them. And I've had a few of those conversations that have just been tremendously valuable to me,
I love it. Okay. So we got to, people that haven't read it yet or don't even know about it, we got to let them know why. Okay. Who is this book for? We'll start there.
Yeah, it's great. So, I think it's a wide range, but, the point guard approach is really, it's a summary of principles that I kind of collected over time. And it's geared towards I'd say the business person or leader or, potentially salesperson. It's not a sales book, but because I've grown up in sales, it's got a lot of sales content that will resonate. But anybody that's looking to invest in themselves and just wants to improve 1 or 2%, I think there's some great ideas, concepts that I learned on the basketball court and didn't really realize it till years later, but had brought these principles over to business. And there's this amazing parallel between, what you do as a successful point guard on the basketball court and what you do as a, business professional, and how you can apply these principles in your day-to-day operations. And, I'll cite, one of the core examples, it's the first chapter. The principle is vision. I strongly believe if you don't have a vision of where you want to go, how are you going to get to there if you don't even know, you haven't plotted or thought about or established what is your objective? What's your goal? How do you create a vision for yourself and where you want to be? That's the starting point. That's the foundation. And then you build from there. So we explore those types of things throughout the book. A couple of the other principles, like assists. Point guards are known to be able to, have to run the offense, and it's not their job necessarily to be the leading scorer, but set others up for success, right? Set others up to hit an easy jump shot or throw an alley-oop to a high flyer that can, dunk it on the wing. And that really applies in business as well, not just as a leader in serving your team, but your customers. If you're a sales representative, what are you doing to set your customer up for success? How do you assist them beyond just selling your product or service? Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I think it was Leonard Nimoy. I read this great quote is the miracle is this: the more we share, the more we have. And, it's all about giving. It's assisting. When you're giving and you have a kind of a contextual thought process that you're always trying to help somebody that given day, that week, that month, it's going to come back to you because you're probably making the right decisions, right? And you're putting yourself in a position to help others, which in essence will always come around and help you.
I love it. What are some of the more nuanced things in your book that maybe people just for whatever reason don't really think about?
Yeah, flexibility is one of the principles that I talk about and explore. And I think that, for me, flexibility has been one of those really important principles that as I've navigated my career and life, there's things get thrown at you all the time. A pandemic, by the way, is one. But, how do you navigate and how do you stay, flexible and pliable? Because you're not going to, no matter how much you plan and how much you create this great vision, things are going to come at you they're going to change your approach. And,
Right.
Are you flexible enough to make those adjustments, move forward and still be successful? And it may be a different way to get success or a different way to reach your objective. But can you do those things and make those decisions that allow you to do that? And some of that has to do with like emotional intelligence. I'm a big believer. If you haven't read, Daniel Goleman's work, like Working with Emotional Intelligence, highly recommend it. It's been a kind of a backbone for me. Is self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy for others. These are all, they all contribute to flexibility. So, when I think about, maybe nuance, that's one that maybe jumps off for me a little bit.
Got it. And is there a way people can practice what you have in your book? Do you explain, well, now that you have an audience right here, right now, and someone's read your book and they want to put more things into practice, what would you advise?
Yeah, so every chapter I have a call to action workshop. So basically at the end, there's a summary of a couple of ideas, and a lot of it's questions, because I think it's about challenging yourself to think a little bit differently. So, when we were talking about assists, for example, it's like, who have you helped this week, this month, this year? What have you thought about in your planning? What are you doing to create an environment where you're going to help somebody else? Give me an example of that. Don't, it's really to yourself. So you're holding yourself accountable, right? Same thing with like finishing. Finishing is one of the principles of the book, and finishing is like in sales would be commiserate with closing, right? So as a salesperson, if you go through the sales process and you don't ask for the business at the end, you're doing your customer a disservice, you're doing yourself a disservice. So you got to finish, you got to hit the shot when you're wide open, or else, you've wasted all that energy, get down the court and create that. Same thing with a sale. Like you got to close, right? You got to ask for the business. You deserve it. So the call to action there is, who have you closed? What types of different closes have you used this month? Et cetera, et cetera. So every chapter and every principle's got correlating action items that are practical. Not all of them are magical or you haven't thought of or heard of before, but in this framework, it allows you to, really challenge yourself, I think in some different ways that, help you grow and help you, grow, evolve and move forward. And that's kind of what it was all about. That's why I wrote the book, is it was a challenge to me. I wanted to do something that I knew nothing about, which is writing. So,
and you know what? I want to ask you on that note, a lot of times people talk about this person was my inspiration for this book. Was there someone in mind when you wrote this book, or was it more of I just want to get this out?
That's a great question. I don't know that it was one person in mind, but I think there's a lot of people that have contributed to the energy that the output was this book, right? I've had a lot of mentors, a lot of great coaches and people in my life, and family members and my wife, and a lot of people that have greatly influenced the book. I think the real inspiration actually was it was interesting. The jumping off point was a meeting I had with a surgeon in Houston. We're having dinner, and he told me that he was on LinkedIn doing these blogs, and this is again probably 6 years ago. He was blogging a lot about orthopedic spine surgery and all the things that go with it. And some publishers approached him and said, hey, if you can put your blogs together and you can do it in an organized fashion in 90 days, and it makes sense, we'll publish it. We'll make it a book. And I was like, and he did it. And then he wrote another one in like another 180 days or something crazy. And he told me about it. And I was like, man, he's a busy spine surgeon. If he can do this, I got to give it a shot. And that was the jumping off point. And then many other people had contributed along the way. And for anybody that's interested in kind of taking on that type of challenge, make sure you do correspond with people that have done it before, and it can really cut down the time that it takes to get organized and move forward.
Awesome. So besides sharing with people like myself and telling everybody, how have you been letting the world know about this wonderful book that they should read?
Yeah, so working with the publisher, they put together a press release. Obviously, they go through all their channels and distribution. But myself, social media, I'm on LinkedIn now and trying to be, orienting and really sharing the book with, my followers there, and really trying to branch out through a very, variety of social media, whether it's Facebook or Twitter. And then, contacting actually local bookstores, going through my own personal network. That I have a lot of people that are in our, in the medical sales industry, but many other industries that have, a lot of leadership development stuff going on, and just, really being professionally persistent to get out and share the word. But, it's also being, humble in the approach, because I'm not quitting my day job because I wrote a book.
Well, you know what, Jeremy, it's awesome. I can't wait to hear the feedback from people that are listening to this show that do get this book and read it. I'm definitely going to talk about it. I have it, I read it. And this is exciting. So thank you for joining us today and sharing with us. Any last words you want to share with the audience before they go and get this book, if they have not already bought it as they're listening to this episode?
No, I appreciate you having me back on. I loved our first conversation and got a lot of great feedback. So it's wonderful to be back. So thank you. No, go out, grab it. Please reach out after you read it. Any feedback's always very much valued for me, and love hearing from, people that good, bad, or indifferent. But no, listen, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So who better to invest in than yourself? Go out, grab the book, read it. And if you get 1% out of it, and it leads you to a little bit more success, then my job, I feel very fulfilled.
Excellent. Great seeing you, Jeremy.
All right, Samuel. Thank you.
And that was the point guard approach. Pretty fascinating, right? Get this book. You got to get this book. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on iTunes under our show notes. You can find it on our website under his podcast. Get the book. It's a book that, as I said before, it speaks volumes. You heard him explain it. You heard us dive deep into what's in it. It's going to speak to you as well. Get this book, The Point Guard Approach. Now, another guest that I want to talk about that also wrote a book is Chris Larson. His book's called Next Level Income. And, Chris he's an interesting character, because he was someone that was in the medical sales space, 18 years in the OR, started when he was 25 years old, really did well, experienced life as a sales rep in that space, went on to leadership, but then left it all at $300,000 a year, said, you know what, I'm hanging this up because I have a different dream to pursue, and that's financial freedom. And not only have I found a way to experience it myself, but I want to help everybody else do it through real estate investing. And that is exactly what Chris did. It doesn't get any more interesting than that. And, he left a career where he was making $300,000 a year. And ultimately what it did for him is it allowed him to spend more time with his family and really buckle down and focus on this goal of creating financial freedom for other people. If you'd like to learn more about his secrets and how he became financially independent and how you can become financially independent as well, then you got to get a copy of his book, The Next Level Income. nextlevelincome.com/book is where you can find it. Again, that's nextlevelincome.com/book. That's where you can find it. And what he's really doing is he's truly helping people become financially independent. And in his book, you learn so much. I learned so much. It's such an easy read. It's one of those simple weekend reads that's just packed with information. You walk away saying, wow, the things I didn't know. I'm on board. Doctors are on board. Medical sales executives are on board. Sales reps are on board. Everyone's on board because they see the value they're getting. And we're all getting to this goal of being financially free. Why wouldn't you want to be a part of that, right? If you have money to invest and you want to put into action, then this is the man you got to do it with, Chris Larson. So listen, you got 2 books to go out and get now. Your first book is you got to get The Point Guard Approach by Jeremy Laynor. Your second book is you got to get Chris Larson's book, Next Level Income. These are people from the industry, by the industry, you could even say, that are literally sharing their value, sharing their knowledge, sharing their wisdom to you in simple, quick reads that can literally change your lives. So make sure you look into that. Again, The Point Guard Approach by Jeremy Laynor and Next Level Income by Chris Larson. And then lastly, if you're someone that's looking to break into the industry, you've been listening to my episodes and you're saying, wow, I love everything I'm hearing. I've learned so much. I want to do more. I want to actually get into pharmaceutical sales or medical device sales or biotech sales or somewhere in sales that's related to healthcare. I want to make it happen. Then you need to make sure you visit us at evolveyoursuccess.com, select Attain Medical Sales Role, or find me on LinkedIn under Samuel Adeyinka. And if you're a sales rep or a sales leader and you're thinking to yourself, you know what? It's time I develop a brand. This is the age of having a digital presence, right? We've been in the age of social media for how long now? 12, 15, if not more years. And finally, every industry and business is starting to realize that, hey, when a brand is developed, a lot of things can happen for that person that owns a business, for that person that's in business, for that person that is an employee that wants to do more, aka a sales rep that wants to do more for their territory. There's a brand here. There's brand development here. And if you take the time to understand, learn, and actually execute it, it can change your business. So why wouldn't you want to do that? If you've had that on your mind or you're starting to see that, you know what, there's some traction that I want to be a part of, then again, visit evolveyoursuccess.com, select Improve Sales Performance, and take a look at our LinkedIn branding program and let us help you make that happen. We create things for people trying to get into healthcare sales. We create things for people that are in healthcare sales, and we create things for people that are leading healthcare sales. So if you want to understand more, again, visit us at evolveyoursuccess.com or find me on LinkedIn under Samuel Adeyinka. As always, we do our best to bring you guests that are going to add value to your lives, going to add value to the things you're trying to do. So make sure you return for another episode of the Medical Sales Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And remember, I have a couple programs that show you exactly how to break into the medical sales industry, become a top-performing medical sales professional, and also how to masterfully navigate your career to executive-level leadership. Check out these programs and learn more at evolveyoursuccess.com. Stay tuned for more awesome content with amazing interviews.